In past episodes, I really haven't made many fans among the hardcore gamer crowd. Come to think of it, I think a lot of you guys subscribe to my channel just to see how I'm going to offend you this week, which actually brings up the whole topic of this week's episode. Gamers are notorious for being very easy to offend. Unless, of course, you ask them directly, in which case nothing offends them. But to kind of bring up to the topic of this week's show, let's do it in geek meme form. Just roll credits. The usual disclaimers. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not an expert. More, I'm just someone looking for answers that make sense to me. I'm just doing this on the public stage. So as someone who critiques games and the gamer culture, I've noticed a lot of people get really upset when you say something, well, anything, negative about the game that they play. The guys who get it the worst are the game reviewers. I'm not jealous of them. I'm spared most of the grief because I'm not a game reviewer, but it still happens. A lot. So sure, a lot of gamers get emotionally attached to their games, but that leads me to ask why. Now a lot of people would just say, well, because they've spent so much time in their basement and all that, and that's all stereotypes, and that's not necessarily true. But let me kind of set up where I'm coming from on this, and we've got to start somewhere, so let's start with content consumption. When a new game hits the market, one of the cornerstones of the reviewing community is to talk about how many hours of content the game has in it. What they mean by this is how long it takes to finish the game. By the averages, 7 hours is seen as being too little, 15 to 20 is average. Some games brag 40 hours of content. I mean, heck, Skyrim supposedly has over 300 hours of content. But the one thing all these modern games have in common, they all have an ending. You get the princess. You get the princess. Or you get to beat the living snot out of the bad guy with your bare fists. You win. You beat the game. And not to have a get off my lawn moment here, but video games didn't used to be like that.
There were no multiple levels or screens, it was just one screen forever, and you could never win. The game just kept getting harder and faster until you died, just like life.
You see, old video games, my generation of arcade games, there was no ending. You just held on as long as you could until the inevitable happened. In the end, you die. The world ends, you ultimately fail. Modern video games put a winning goal within reach, and the price of admission is pretty low, all things considered. Modern games is all about, well... Come on, bro, I got tackle blood. Let's face it, beating a game gives you an instant feel-good. I beat the game. Has quite a ring to it, doesn't it? Finishing the story or getting all the achievements, it's basically the same feeling when it all comes down to it. We like to win. Even if it's just a linear path to getting to the goal, we still like that feeling of achievement. Because games give us a feel-good ending, we consume content as fast as we can to beat the game. One more thing before I move on, and this might just be a matter of semantics, but the wording fascinates me. AAA studios talk about how we consume content. Now to me, that's telling me that they don't think we're just playing these games. We're devouring them. But once that game is beaten, what do most gamers do? We go back to the game shop and we sell it to try to make some of our money back. And the clock is ticking the moment you walk out of the store with that midnight release title. And if we like the game, I mean, we'll keep it, we'll put it up on the shelf to collect dust, and maybe someday our kids will pick it up when they're having a retro gaming moment. One more side note here. I watch kids play Atari 2600 games with some amusement these days. You think any modern game is hard? Try playing E.T. without the instruction manual. So how does this relate to MMO culture and our attachments? Console games have limited content. Once it's done, it's done. You can play the game again and again, but once you beat the game, it's like watching a movie you liked again. There's no surprises. MMOs are designed to be open-ended experiences. Once you max out level, there's still content. They still have stuff to do. What this means is that the MMO gamers spend hundreds and hundreds more hours in-world as their character. Okay, here's where I not only break the fourth wall, I'm pretty much actually going to demolish this. Okay, look, I don't remember where I saw this in the first place, but the concept is so good that I want to share it with you. Matter of fact, that's the whole thing about this. It's you and me, isn't it? We're talking. I'm talking to you. I'm making eye contact with you. There's a personal connection going on here, right? Not really. Because I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to an inanimate object. I'm looking at a camera right now. What you're seeing is very carefully controlled. I mean, where I put the camera, what I edit together, everything is a very controlled medium. But unlike other mediums like television and movies, this is personal. You're listening to me, you're looking at me, I'm talking directly to you. And it creates this connection between myself and you, my audience. A connection that kind of gets creepy occasionally.
Yeah, well anyway, but the point I'm getting at is that MMOs do this too.
You spend hours working on your character. You want that costume to look absolutely perfect. You quest and you grind to get that one costume piece for transmog, or to get that one mount that will be perfect for your character. Even if you don't buy into the roleplay side of things, there's still that connection. Many people actually make elaborate backstories for their in-world character, or they get fan art, and there's companies that specialize in making posters and figurines of your WoW character. Okay, I get it. Some people just hit random and go. Fine, but my point is you're still spending a lot of one-on-one time with the game. The game talks to you, not to random person 873. You interact with the world leaders one-on-one. You make things happen at one level or another. You may not win the game, but you certainly win a lot of small battles along the way. You also do something that most console games just don't let you do. Your character evolves. Alright, console RPG games do have some character evolution along the story arc, but it's not as something like an MMO. Granted, every MMO has the best build for a character class, but there's still a lot of room to personalize it. This lets you at least feel like you're not a cookie cutter. You are unique. You are an individual.
People are gonna get upset at me if I don't do it. Play the clip.
Let's repeat the non-conformist oath. I promise to be different. I promise to be unique. I promise not to repeat things other people say.
Alright, so how many of you guys were expecting the Monty Python clip? How many of you guys are upset that I didn't use the Monty Python clip? You see, that brings up one more thing that plays into all this. There's a lot of comfort in predictability.
There's something to be said for predictable patterns and feeling at home within them. I can walk into any Walmart anywhere in the US and pretty much know where I need to go to get exactly what I need. There's a reason they're all laid out the same. The same thing can be said for MMOs. I mean, we'll play the same dungeon time and time again, knowing what's going to happen every time. Okay, there's also a Skinner box model in play here as well with item drops, but that's a can of worms I am not about to open up. Yet.
Okay, I'll tell you guys what. If this show ever gets picked up by a major website, I'll do an entire show talking about Skinner and the Skinner box stuff. Quote me.
A predictable experience gives players several things. We feel like we're in control because everything's familiar. We feel comfortable. Things feel reliable. And MMOs rely on this to keep us engaged. Okay, and the Skinner box stuff too.
It's another show. I'm telling you, it's another show!
The point is that these games are designed to keep you engaged in several ways, so unlike a console game, we actually get to have a relationship with the game and its characters, and many times it's a very personal one. We spend hours, if not days and weeks, in world. We get to the point where we believe a part of it to be ours. Combine that with the very real people on the other end, with guilds and friendships and all that, and it becomes something more meaningful. The real problem comes in when the game is a replacement for something missing in the real world. This is where your stereotypes come from. Every fandom has a weird Uncle Joe, and the media always hops right onto that person and latches. But WoW has its fair share. Even a casual search can find you news that will make you openly weep for humanity, but I could easily find the same thing for any hobby or interest out there. But let's dial this back a little. Let's actually try to address the point I started in the first place. Why do gamers get so defensive when you criticize a game they like? Well, it's many things. But I think I can sum it up by stating that they take it personal. You're not just criticizing the game they like, but more like they feel you're criticizing them personally. With all the time, energy, money, and effort they put into a game, they have a very tangible relationship with it and the people they play it with. It's like telling someone they have an ugly girlfriend, for lack of a better way to put it.
I understand that people like to be good at things that they enjoy, like video games. I also understand that people tend to be a little defensive when it comes to criticizing something that they're both good at and that they enjoy. Believe me, I know. But let me offer you a little pearl of wisdom in all this. Criticism can give you a lot more insight to what you do than somebody just constantly patting you on the back. Every time somebody gives you some kind of criticism, even if it's, oh, this just sucks, there's something in that. There's something at the core of that you can use to make you a better player down the road. Something to think about. Unless, of course, they just happen to be trolling, in which case, just ignore them. I mean, there's nothing more fun in the world than watching a troll completely run out of steam because you just didn't feed them. You're doing it. John, you know what's gonna happen when you... That last time... Alright, just hang loose. I'll be there as soon as I can. Look, I gotta go.
Hey, where are you going?
Okay, look, it's a long story. I'm going out east. I'll explain everything when I get back.
At least I know how to swim.